As much as I love marathon training, I much rather enjoy the 5K training. It's much more intense, it's much more speed work, probably more training load, kind of ish, but I find it so much more enjoyable. Essentially like 1 week of proper training left. It is 17 days until Boston Marathon. I have this track session, I have the long one on Sunday, and after that I'm pretty much going into my taper. So what I have on the menu today is a 5 by mile. There's something beautiful about 400, 800, 1200, 600 meter laps, because you start and finish on exactly the same point, which means absolutely nothing to anyone, but for me it just makes running easier. Very OCD-ish, makes zero sense to anyone else, but for me it just makes it so much simpler and a bit more elegant. Also, this is sparkling water, and yes, I'll be drinking sparkling water during my training session. Don't come at me. You may hate it, but I love it. Not mad paces, just slightly below marathon pace. And then at the end, I'm going to throw in 400s just to get some leg turnover. I'll be hitting the 400s at around 310-ish per K. So nothing too mad. Maybe if the legs are feeling good at around 300. After Sunday, I'm very much going into taper. That taper doesn't mean I'll be stopping my training altogether. I'll be just reducing the training load and reducing the... A lot of fast people around here. I'll be still doing the K reps next week, but it won't be 12 like it was this week. It'll be maybe 5 or 6, and then be more shorter reps, more kind of 400s and 800s, just to get more leg turnover. Because realistically, when you get to the last 2 weeks of the training block for the marathon, you're not really training, you're not adding any value to your training block. You're not going to make any significant change. You can overtrain easily, and you can come into your training, into your actual marathon dead and tired and overtrain, which is not what you want to be doing. So the focus for the last 2 weeks is very much on recovery, keeping fresh, and just having the legs ready for the actual marathon. Because the problem is, if you completely cut out the training, if you reduce the training too much, or you cut out the load too much, you can arrive a bit sluggish at the race line, which is not what you want. So you kind of need to strike a balance. And the way I usually approach it is, if I was completely new to running, if I was doing my first marathon ever, I'd start out maybe 3 weeks before the marathon, and I'll do maybe 80% of my peak mileage on week 3, about 60% on week 2, and then on the race week, excluding the actual race itself, maybe 20-30%. Let's say your peak mileage was 100k, week 3 would be 80k, week 2 before the race would be 60ish k, and then the race week is around 30ish k. For me, I'm slightly a bit more used to the volume, slightly bit more used to the mileage, so I start my taper around 2 weeks out. I feel a little most comfortable around that. I get enough recovery doing that, and yeah, I don't really feel if I was doing 3 weeks I would get that much more advantage. I'd be running the risk of coming a bit more sluggish if I was doing a longer taper. So for me, 2 weeks is very much sufficient. Today, easy enough session. We're going to see what Abdi has in store, if he has any tricks up his sleeve leading into London. And then last big run on Sunday, which is going to be 30k, and after that we're just doing easy short stuff, which is so enjoyable, because at that stage all the hard work is done. We just have to recover, sleep, and reap the rewards. Without further ado, what's your session today?
2,000, 1,000. That's 5.
Is it 3 weeks into London? How are you feeling?
Oh, heavy days.
Getting hard to sleep, blood is in my dreams. I was killing me, trying to figure it out. Nothing better to do when I'm stuck on you. I'm still in here trying to figure it out.
How's the session? You happy?
Very happy. This was like mental training. Went alone.
Do you prefer?
Mostly I train alone, but when it's when you have to hit good times, it's not easy.
Do you prefer to train alone or with a group?
I think my friend of mine, the bike, my friend of mine is doing a good job. So I can run this training, you need maybe 1 or 2 to give you that. Because now you have to tell yourself, okay, come on. And then when you have with people, you don't have to do that. There is some little competition in it.
Do you find it this kind of session to be a nice mental preparation for a marathon?
Yeah. So I was telling myself, you know what? It's good mental training. So try to think like that. And I was thinking like, okay, now you're at 41K, last 1K, and then it feels easy. So you play with your mind.
3 weeks in London. Taper has it already started, or you do it next week?
No, last 12 days.
12 days.
I'll start, yeah. So, still 4 sessions to go. 4, you need good ones. Now we have to hit the second. On the second, I mean. Let's cool him down.
Every time you come around, I feel great. Simplify the things that I complicate. We can cash out, lock it in.
Track session done. I did not had enough time to get the 400s in at the end because I had to start recording Abdi session. But I'm just going to go back to the track. Then this one, the one in Iten in the afternoon, and do a mini double thresholds. Morning session, this one was 5x1 mile, which was very much at LT1 effort. And in the afternoon, I'm just going to do the 400s and maybe a few 200s at LT2 and just kind of call it a day. But yeah, overall, good. Felt good. Laps went very, very good. Did not feel tired or exhausted, even though I only had 5 hours of sleep. So yeah, very confident. Time to go get some food in Java House. Let's go.
I see the killer in your eyes. Your knife meets my skin. I'm weak like your eyes. I keep it concise. You made it very clear. No good. No.
Ham reception.
Good morning, sir. What's your session for today?
It is the staple of any good marathon block, 3x10k. That well-known, real clever session to do.
Juicy.
3x10k, and we just do marathon effort. Yeah, it's quite nice to fair because there's up here you don't really know what pace to hit, so it's effort. It's like awful. But I'm hoping for 3:45.
Nice.
So we'll see. How about 3x8? Is it?
3x8, yeah. What about yourself?
I have got a 36k progression, starting easy, finishing at marathon pace. So it's only 6k of marathon pace at the end, which is a lot nicer than the 3x10k that he was trying to get me to do yesterday.
Which he agreed to do.
I agreed to it, and then I spoke to my coach, and he was like, "You did 7x3k on Friday, and now."
Which I jumped
later.
in on. Which I did jumped in on.
You did jump in. Yeah, to be fair, he helped me out. He only did 5 reps, but still. My coach basically said, yeah, 3x10k is probably a bit too much, especially at the end of a 185k week. So, listen to the coach. So sorry, mate, you're on your own.
Yeah, and then gives him a 20k volume of track session next Wednesday.
Now, for me on the menu today, we have 3x8 marathon effort. Was thinking doing marathon pace, but I'm a silly banana. I couldn't fall asleep at all yesterday. This morning, only fell asleep around like 2 a.m. I was like lying like this, looking at the ceiling, trying to fall asleep until I eventually passed out. And then I was up at 5 a.m. So yeah, not ideal. So I don't want to be pushing myself too much into the red because not worth it. A marathon effort is going to be just as sufficient as a pace, especially here, as Gabe said, because you don't really know what you're hitting. So we have an updated status on this session, and the plan is not to run 8x4. Well, hopefully that is the plan, but the plan is to run as long as these shoes are gonna last us. What's gonna end first, me, shoes, or the run? Let's find out.
Good luck, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. Right.
See you on the other side.
The microphone on my camera has been acting up on Moiben Road, so I'm going to do a bit of a voiceover and feedback on the actual run. Considering the fact that I only had about 3 hours of sleep going into this run and I did not feel like running at all, the session itself was actually very, very good. So the first strap felt pretty strong. I was averaging like 4 or 5 per K. After that first strap, that's where the thing started to go downhill. After 13k, I did not see the van at all and I didn't have any access to the water. So given that it's Moiben Road, very hot. The second rep was tough. It was slower, it was like 410ish, which wasn't too bad. I was able to maintain some decent effort considering the fact that, you know, I didn't really have any water. And then by the time the third rep came around, I was very much in the hole. No water, no liquids going into me, very dehydrated. Rep 3 was very, very difficult. Nonetheless, between the 3 reps, I did average 4:11, which is pretty good. It is pretty much marathon pace if you convert it to sea level when you take into account the altitude. So I'm pretty happy. It's 24k of volume, and as I said, given the fact that I really did not optimize for this run, sleep was just not there. It's not as if I didn't go to bed early. I went to bed and I was just literally lying in bed looking at the ceiling trying to fall asleep, and the brain was just not shooting off. Full strap down, 4-minute average, feeling good. Now we're doing a float for 1k and then 2 more 8ks. Let's go. When I arrived to Moiben Road in the morning, I really did not want to do this run. But I kind of realized sometimes on actual race day, shit goes wrong. Things go wrong. You undersleep. Hello, cat. You undersleep, you underfuel. Things are just not ideal. The way I saw this run was, in a way, like getting ready for a race where conditions are not going to be ideal. Because sometimes you don't sleep well the night before the race because you're in a new country. There's a loud kind of bar or street or road outside, and it doesn't allow you to fall asleep. You might be having some stomach issues, you might be nervous, shit happens. Even though, like, from the physical point of view, this one might not have been the best or the greatest, I did saw it as an opportunity to train the mental part of the racing as well, because pushing through when you mentally just do not want to be there is also a very key component that you need to train when you get ready for a marathon. 5k, 10k, you can get away with going a bit into the red, pushing yourself through, and it's short enough distance where the mental component doesn't really kick in that much. Half marathon gets a bit tougher, but for the marathon, once you go past the halfway mark, you realize you still have like at least an hour and a half, and if you're like down the slower lane, maybe 2.5, maybe even 3 hours. And that could be a very long day in the office. So you have to be mentally prepared for things not going right, you being tired, you being weak, underfueled. Even though from the physical point of view, from the actual kind of running aspect, the run was okay, it wasn't the greatest. I was almost happy once I started running because I knew it would prepare me for those conditions, those races where things don't go right. Because I'll know I can still perform even when I'm tired, even when I am not fueled properly, the hydration is not right. When those things arise in the actual race conditions, I won't panic. I will be mentally prepared for that, and I'll be able to just calmly assess the situation and respond accordingly. One thing that I've learned about like marathon training, just training in general, it's not that fancy. And like a lot of the things are very basic. It's all about just consistently doing them over and over and over again. And one thing that I've learned from marathon training, from being in law, from just life in general, the key to getting better at something, the key to improving and growing, is being okay with doing a lot of very, very boring stuff over and over and over again. So for marathon, for example, racing, the pictures, the photos, the race outfit, that's the top of the iceberg. That's the highlight that everyone wants to do. But easy miles, long runs that are just, eating away at your soul, difficult track sessions. Yes, there could be quite exciting ones when you hit PBs, when you hit amazing, splits. But majority of them, I'd say a good 70%, the sessions are quite mundane, and there's nothing overly exciting about them. But if you can master being able to do boring stuff well over and over again, that's where you grow the most as a runner, and that's where you grow the most in other aspects of life. And even, for example, with weightlifting, a lot of the lifts, you go to the gym, you repeat pretty much the same routine over and over again. The only thing that changes is maybe the rep range as you slightly increase your strength, or the weights as you get stronger. But overall, a lot of it is quite repetitive, quite boring, and it's not as exciting as, for example, getting a 1 rep PB. And you won't be able to do that every single time. You're not able to do the exciting stuff every single time. For a lot of people, when they set goals, they focus at the highlight. They focus at the most exciting thing that's gonna happen at the end, and they don't anticipate all the very boring stuff that you have to be okay with. Even like training aside, if you look at business, getting good returns, getting good profits, landing new clients, growing the business, very exciting. Calling yourself entrepreneur, founder, CEO, all that good stuff, great, very exciting, very rewarding, very quick dopamine hit. But before you can do that, or before you kind of can grow the business, there's a lot of very boring admin. There's a lot of very boring behind the scenes work that's not very glamorous. You sitting behind Excel sheets, you doing cold emails, you doing reach outs, building websites, doing tax returns, all like very, very boring stuff that's not going to make you a highlight reel on Instagram, but what actually pushes the business forward. And when a lot of people kind of want to get somewhere, they just only think of the highlight reel, of the end result, and they're not willing to do all the boring stuff. And that's kind of what goes back. Like, if you're okay with doing the boring stuff, if you fall in love with doing the boring stuff, and you do it consistently very, very well, you will succeed in any aspect of life.
Good evening.
Big daddy session for you today.
Big session, yeah.
3 by 10.
Favourite session, 3 by 10k, off 1k. Yeah, happy that one's fair.
How was it? What were the splits?
I did 344, 345, 350, so that sounds like, well, it was a regression. But yeah, anyone who's been on Moiben before knows that the way back is so much harder. So I'm happy with that one. Felt horrible, didn't enjoy it, but I'm feeling good now. But yeah, no, I'm happy with that one. 40k total.
Secondary enjoyment afterwards.
Yeah.
The session itself was horrible, but now you've done it, you're like, oh yeah.
The feeling of when like you press your watch and then it just saves is golden. So yeah, no, I'm happy with it. It's good stuff. Chuffed for that one.
What's for you next? Zurich half?
Yeah, I'm pacing someone for that, so that'll be like, I think she wants to go for 140, 145, so that's on Sunday. But yeah, technically tape time now. That was by far the biggest session of the block, 3 weeks out. Do a track session Wednesday and then like 20k at target marathon pace on the Saturday and then just full tape it. But yeah, feeling good.
Good.
Feeling strong with that one.
Best of luck.
Thank you, man. Cheers.
Boom. Mr. Benjamin.
Hello. I'll use this as my microphone. Yeah, my session went well today. I had a 34k progression, starting at easy pace down to marathon pace. And well, I say marathon pace, as Gibbster was saying, it's hard to hit your paces when you're on Moiben Road. It was very windy today.
Oh, really windy. Super
so
windy.
get that as an excuse in the books, but my marathon pace section of the long run happened to fall on the way back as well. So I was basically running uphill for 6k at marathon effort. Heart rate was at marathon pace effort, but the pace itself wasn't. So it doesn't look too sexy on Strava, but
what was your heart rate? The highest heart rate?
Like 164, 165.
Yeah, mine didn't hit 170 at all.
Yeah, it's quite hard to get it up at altitude, I find.
Yeah, I think just like, especially with the long efforts, it's like,
Yeah, it's so hard to get your heart rate up here. Absolutely, yeah. I can relate to the comment somewhat. Yeah.
I thought you were laughing at the it's hard to get it up.
A bit of both.
Yeah. But all in all, very good session. Ticked it off. Now I'm enjoying my Out Pro 50 grams of protein. There we go. Bosh.
Are you tapering now as well?
No, of course not. Got ages yet.
How long do you usually take for taper, Gabe?
It is 2 weeks. Like it's just for next week my long run's reduced. Like 3 weeks out now. I did 40k today. I'm not gonna do 40k 2 weeks out. So that's basically where all my mileage comes off. I'll do like 5-10% reduction. Keep most things the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2 weeks really.
What about you?
Yeah, pretty much the same for me. 10 days, 10 to 12 days. The sort of volume comes down, but the intensity kind of remains or slightly increases a little bit as the sessions get close to London. But yeah, not long now.
No, the work is mostly done.
Yeah, a few more big ones.
Dmytro, how about you?
3 by 8k. Started off fine. I had 4 or 5 for the first 8k. Felt good.
Yeah.
I had water with me, which is definitely helpful. Then after that, after K13, I had no water. So rep 2 was more or less sustained effort. It was like 410-ish, and then after that for rep 3, going up that hill on the way back,
The hill gets you.
like it dropped down to like 415 average, which like grand.
Yeah.
Like
But still, what's that? Like 4's 355.
Yeah.
What is 2 hours 45 pace?
it's 355.
Fair. So
Yeah.
even then, that's so calm.
So like all things considered, I'm pretty happy now.
Yeah.
So,
3 by 8 pace, massive session as well. Off 3 hours sleep.
yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like, when I came to like 3k in of the third rep, I was like, it's just not going well. I'm just gonna do like a steady run for the rest, but like I'll just do 1 more k, I just do one more K after that.
Yeah, just one more.
just one more K, and eventually I got to the last, like, done, and kind of.
Yeah, well, you boxed it off, so respect. Good man. Bring on Boston.
Boston.
Is that your hardest run now? As well?
My longest and hardest was probably like last week, 38K steady at like 4, like it was 2K warm up and then 36 at around 4:15ish.
Yeah.
So like that was probably my hardest and longest run.
Yeah.
And this is probably the kind of a shorter version of that, and then the next week I might just do like 25K steady.
Yeah.
Big Heartbreak Hill on 24th of April.
Easy.
Let's go.
If you can run the Kenyan hills, then you could do Heartbreak.
I mean every single hill here is a Heartbreak Hill.
Yeah, exactly.